Hola gente, de vuelta. Seguimos en este cuarto día en nuestra South School on Internet Governance. Recuerden que tenemos
fourth day of our South School of Internet Governance. Remember that we have YouTube transmission in streaming in English and Spanish, and for all our fellows that are in a different Zoom room in a seminar sort of way. Now I'm going to introduce a very important topic, and also I'm going to introduce our friends, social networks, misinformation and fake news. This is a topic, a hot topic with a lot of impact and with a lot of different points of view that have to do with freedom of speech and avoiding hate speeches and misinformation. And that's why I'm going to have a great panel with excellent friends. Some of you I haven't met personally, but I'm going to have the opportunity. The moderator is my friend Yolanda Ramirez Villordo. We haven't met in person, but we have participated together in different virtual conferences in these last couple of years. And I want to thank you, Yolanda, for your time. Jocelyn Castro is our friend, has been our friend for many years. Greetings from Oscar Mesano and Adriana and the whole team. I want to tell you that Jocelyn was paramount for organizing our South School of Internet Governance in Panama in 2013. She's from Panama. She also participated in the school in Colombia. Colombia was your first school, right? So she also wanted to organize it in Panama, so she was paramount in organizing it in Panama. And also two new friends for the school, Emilio Saldaña and Jorge Hernan Peláez. Emilio is general manager of Alternativa Digital Mexico, and Jorge Hernan Peláez is a journalist from Colombia. So we have a Latin American panel. Greetings from Buenos Aires. Yolanda, you have the floor, and at the end I'm going to read the questions from the fellows that are asking the questions through the Zoom platform. Thank you, Olga. It's a great pleasure to share this panel with such experienced friends. This is what we need nowadays. And as Olga was saying, we have an enriching panel. What can I say, Jocelyn? You are a lovely person. You always contribute a lot. And you are in Panama, right? We also have Emilio Saldaña, who is the general manager for Alternativa Digital Mexico. It's great to share this panel with you. It's an honor. And Jorge Hernan Peláez, journalist. Jorge, I imagine that you know a lot about this topic, which is a very important topic. As regards the personal and professional life of all people, and it has become more important with the pandemic, and it has to do with social network, misinformation, and fake news. I would like to show you an image to start. I know that you are all experts, but I would like to have like a kind of dialogue. So I want to share this image with you. I think that it has to do with our everyday life. These are my neighbors. So who I'm going to believe and who I'm not going to believe, what are fake news, everything that we can see in social networks. And we have here some pieces of news. There's a company representing communication, and then we have another one. And what if these are fake news? How can I make a difference? And on the other hand, we also have these kind of messages in the social media that are shared and we don't know where it came from, and we read them. And there's a comment that says, I don't know if it's true, but... So I think that this is going to give us an idea to start with this panel, and I would like to ask you, Jocelyn, what can Jocelyn contribute to this panel as regards social networks and misinformation and fake news? Hello, dear friends. First, I want to thank the people organizing the school, Olga, Adrian. I was a fellow in 2012 and I was passionate about this activity. I know that everything that you do to foster cybersecurity and internet governance, and since a few years ago I've been involved in the world of new technologies, and that's why my connection with the governance school. I was the chairman of the Commission of Law and New Technologies of the Law Association in Panama. And what we were trying to do was not only to bring awareness about new technologies, and we also tried to work in different campaigns and work in developing bills for this political environment of internet and the social media that have changed our lives so much. How many of you did you feel that in this week you suffered a lot of anxiety because we couldn't connect through the three most important social media that we have? I know that many of you could work like relaxed and feeling better, but a lot of other people were feeling anxious because of the lack of those networks, because the need for constant information is like an addiction. Thank you. Emilio. Who is Emilio? What are we going to listen from Emilio? Thanks once again for the invitation. I think that to create and to share knowledge is the base of information society. So in order to be able to participate in this kind of conferences is great. I think that is paramount for an information society that, thanks to different technologies that we use today, is moving on. So I am like a digital hippie. It has to do with loving, learning, sharing, and all the positive issues of internet and IT have brought about. And we are living in a time in which digitalization is so important. And after the pandemic, there was an acceleration in this process of digitalization. And I am on the side of those fascinated for seeing how, with the use of technology, we were able to discover everything that had to do with facing the pandemic and COVID-19, and how we were able to link as a society with open culture, open code, the importance of communication between government and citizenship. And these are the things that I've been working from the public and private and civil sector. So I'm honored to share this panel with you and to learn while we share our ideas. Thanks for inviting me. Jorge, that you are in the battlefield nowadays. What can you tell us? First, thanks for the invitation to all the people being part of this virtual streaming. By being part of this activity, I could have the opportunity to be in Washington in the OAS and to see these discussions on internet governance and all the difficulties brought about by technological changes. since the regulations in the countries are lagging behind. And I have been working with several media in Colombia, but mainly there's one that is an economic newspaper, that is Diario La República. I write there every Friday. For example, tomorrow I'm going to write about spectrum and mobile operators, and I try to address technology and telecommunications topics. And I know that the companies in this sector and the regulators and the government read what I write, because not many of us in Colombia write about those topics. I would say that no more than 10 journalists in different media writing about this. And we know which kind of profile we have, those that are in the radio or on television. I am part of the written press. I've been writing for 10 years for the La República newspaper. And I was concerned this week because, as Jocelyn was saying, it's not 3 isolated technologies, but the same company. So the humanity is going to depend on one company, and that is serious because it's like a monopoly, and it shouldn't be the case. There should be more democratization, and Facebook, by buying WhatsApp and Instagram, is monopolizing the activity. So users and governments should stop that. Users have a tool that has not been used so far, but is going to start being used after the statement of the whistleblower, Ms. Frances, in the US. She was explaining how this worked. And I think that something is going to happen because people don't want to offer data. So there's going to be a group of citizens, small groups, and then larger groups to try to mislead algorithms to send information that is wrong, so that the company understands that citizens have the capacity of breaking that kind of ideas and algorithms that are well planned. And I would say that the media, as well as the people, are going to require Facebook, YouTube, Google, all the platforms to pay for their content. Maybe even a symbolic or minimum number, but if not, content companies can start uploading fake information about their behavior, and that is not going to be worth it. So when companies realize, such as Procter & Gamble did 4 years ago, that metrics and numbers are not so trustworthy, I cannot prove that. And it is a big company. So companies, announcers, and people are going to start realizing that what is taking place in the algorithms is getting them trapped. And as Jocelyn was saying on Monday, a lot of people was like, couldn't work and lost money, and everybody who believed in this idea of digital transformation couldn't sell. And they said, well, maybe this is not the only system. We need another plan, an alternative maybe. And I think that humanity cannot rely only on that. One of the important things of asking you who you are is to learn about your different profiles, because probably those who are sharing this panel, listening to us, can identify with one of us in their different roles, and they would say, yeah, it's true. I am the person that is in the social media, in the academia, and let me tell you that I am a lawyer, as well as Jocelyn, and I am an academic, a scholar. So I do a lot of research on these kind of topics with students at the university level. And we are including these projects. And that's why I had the pleasure of being invited by Olga to participate in this panel. So what we would like to know is, by your experience in your different careers, what are social media for you? What are social networks, for example, for you, Jocelyn? Today, talking about social networks is to have a basic business interaction. The different ideas that I can share in social media. I may have one for the labor market, another one for the academia, another one where I can show my artistic ideas. So it's not like the networks, social networks are the devil. We need to add the idea that although there are some serious situations as regards fake news, it's like when we are at school, the kid that is noisy is the one that they say that has a bad behavior and the whole classroom is working badly. So no, it's not that idea. We need to analyze the different aspects. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, this was connected to the boost of e-commerce, and many people lost their jobs and had to do something. And one of the things that they did was to start promoting their products through social media, because it was like a free kind of or a very cheap kind of way of doing it. And on the other hand, that kind of jobs that were seen as not so important were at the forefront. I don't know in your countries, but in Panama, delivery was a need that for all the population. So the positive aspect of social networks is what we need to focus on. Together with that, we have the competitive advantage. For example, the idea of having no borders and to be able to promote through e-commerce and to do different campaigns. Interstate communication in the pandemic was well developed, and there were different ideas shared. And we have these small aspects that are kind of difficult. We need to focus on those who are focusing on steps that, although minor, are going to have a negative impact in the way citizens act in the social network. For example, cybercrime through social media is not going to have an impact as the image that you were showing with the neighbors. In the past, we knew who our neighbors were, and they could affect maybe the street or the small neighborhood in which they were. But in the social media, this is different. And unfortunately, we have a population that is using the network, but without analyzing or without knowledge of what they see in the networks. So this idea of being the first in sharing information. And that has to do with different attitudes in social networks. This is an interesting topic to analyze, how a professional can offer his image physically, and when they are in the social networks, it's totally different, and all the bad aspects are showed, and things that maybe face-to-face you won't be able to say, you can do it through social networks. So we have seen both sides. I always try to say, okay, as regards technology, social networks, this was something that helps us as a society to grow. And we are learning that this information universe requires some kind of regulation because there's a team or group of companies or criminals that are using these tools that can used to commit crimes against society. And we also need to be careful because there's a very thin line between being strong and to be against freedom of speech. So we need to find a balance in the social networks, and we need to analyze it and to be aware how changes take place or how we are going to suggest policies or state laws that would allow us to make this safer.
Yolandita, estás en mute. En ese sentido, tocas puntos bien importantes porque
in that sense, you're mentioning an important topic. I think that your profile is always offering the positive aspects. I think that it is important to highlight the good aspects of the social networks. In that sense, Emilio, what can you say in your fields? What are social networks? How can you explain the fake news? Thank you. In social networks, what I see is that it's like the tip of the iceberg that is reflecting or showing the digital social expression of our interaction with IT. We were told that if we had a web page or by connecting to internet, we were facing thousands of millions of people all over the world, that everybody in the world was going to see your web page. And we have been learning that although technically can be true, we can be available for everybody in the world. If I don't have a connection with them in the digital environment, I need to tell them something else, like invite them to see what I offer. So considering this kind of convergence of our digital activities, I see that social networks are like a way of socially expressing, or like a place to get together, and I don't necessarily need to pay attention to everything that I listen. But without social networks, I wouldn't be able to listen to what I like, what I don't like. And in that sense, social networks have become a kind of collective digital awareness, because nowadays social networks are react to what I share. If I offer good vibes, I'm going to receive them, and the same if I question, and if I publicly question, digitally do it, I'm going to receive the same. I'm going to learn, I'm going to be attacked, I'm going to receive good comments. And in that sense, I think that this interconnection and communication that social networks offer, beyond the capacities that internet offers, are one of the positive aspects. And I liked how Jocelyn was saying that fake news and misinformation and adjusting the truth to what I need shows exactly this, because we need to see the stories of those neighbors from what they see every day and how they interpret it. This is how we work or how we act in social networks. Jocelyn was talking about the importance and of opportunity. If I share information before everybody else, I'm going to be important within the social group in which I participate. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any network. By trying to find this importance, sometimes opportunity is going to surpass the truth, and thinking if what I'm sharing has a positive or negative impact. And when we click send, we do not think about the impact that what we are sharing is going to have. And the same when we answer in a chat without thinking what we are answering. And as institutions, sometimes we say things that should have been thought before or analyzed in a different way. So in society as a whole, when we share information, we don't ask those questions to see who did it, where are there proof, pictures, or the whole network is publishing something that, or posting something that may not be true. And there's an important aspect here. There's a saying that says that perception is reality, and there were those who are adjusting reality according to the goals that have nothing to do with information or with the truth. Think about when you are in the line in a bank and you are waiting, and I arrive there, and on purpose I wait only a minute, and I start looking at the line, and I am like nervous and showing that, and the person that is behind me starts doing the same, and the one in front of me that listened to me like I am nervous starts doing the same. If I wait a couple of minutes and ask the person in front of me if he's been there for a long time, probably the answer that I'm going to receive is no, but it's taking quite a long time. So this attitude that I am spreading, I don't want to exaggerate, but with this kind of attitude, in a few minutes, I can cause a difficult situation in the bank, because I'm going to say that I always have to wait a lot and it's not fair, and that idea, that situation is something that I think about when I am interacting with social networks information. If I read a piece of news that is so important and I want to, for example, retweet it or repost it, I should ask myself if I am not going to be doing the same as that person in the bank.
Hello, interesting points, because you're touching upon something interesting, that is generation. Needs, the different needs, as one could see, the people and the ladies that were sitting down, or the needs they have. And then right now, a new need responding by one click of having everything promptly. So WhatsApp was great when deleted messages, because we don't have that time to breathe and to take your time and to process that information and to perceive the information at the same time. So you have critical thinking, the opinion, or whatever. We don't have that time. So we skipped that. We read once again the message, oh, and now I can delete it if I didn't understand. Well, they read a message. Yeah, there's a word to be waged, or if it's unread, you have time to delete it. So that is extremely linked with what Jorge Hernan says. Jorge, it creates a lot of uncertainty, especially when you're used to this media. How do you see in your spheres what social media is? To be quick, Yolanda, I believe that We need to deep dive social media as such globally because they have everyone has a purpose or subjective. TikTok is something for teenagers, but the large brands are there. LinkedIn for professionals, job opportunities, things like that. It's an ecosystem where it's more corporate-like. And Twitter, discussions, writing text, communication. But right now they're uploading photos and images or videos. So they have different interactions, different objectives and audiences. And little by little you're becoming a specialist when you approach, for example, Facebook, tracing back to the good times where it's like family pictures and that's it. And after Monday, a lot of people are probably considering closing Facebook accounts. They have their photos, family, vacation, and right now you have Instagram that is better, and then you have other social media. And as in any technology, as what happened to Nokia, nobody has Nokia right now. Facebook is going to be phased out by another one. This is a spiral that is never ending, and there are some other players that are going to join the market. And even though that Facebook buys companies, I don't know if it's WeChat or TikTok, but there's another player that is going to replace Facebook or any other social media. LinkedIn, for example, I get sources, expertise, articles that are very interesting. And a lot of Twitter, because that's where the information lies. Those are the main sources of information to write and to be acquainted with information. And I believe that people are not conceiving entertainment or photos any longer in social media. I believe that there's less of that, and there's more of having commercial opportunities, business, clients. What sort of information is going to be good for training? Those are the ones that are going to prevail, more useful, or useful beyond entertainment. That's what happened with TV platforms right now. We're used to having cable operators, Netflix, but cable is going to disappear, and that is going to be, and people are going to be tied to entertainment platforms like on demand, like Netflix. The same goes for these platforms. During its useful life, you're gonna see, wow, all movies, TV series. So what else? I'm sure there's going to be a new player with educational content platform or news, sports content, tourism, travel, and you have niches in line with uses. So technology depends on why and how or who you use it. And it doesn't mean that it has to be 100% entertainment, because then you have also 10% of work, and then when you're having a vacations or unless you're taking a sabbatic year. So those large platforms that were fully supported in the past, that they were going to offer entertainment, and they rely on contents uploading. They have algorithms, proprietary algorithms that don't work any longer because it's full of bots, it's full of information, and people are resorting to more useful things on their daily lives. What is going to happen soon is that somebody's going to reinvent a digital platform different from TV, where there should be interaction from those of you that would like to learn cooking but doesn't want to see tutorials in YouTube because there's no interaction. However, if there's one that requires interaction with chefs and professional cooks that you can interact with, I'm sure people are willing to pay for this sort of platforms to be trained and to train their own skills or to acquire capabilities. Some experience of what happened in the past of a one-way street, because you see YouTube it's different from television. Yeah, you have more or less the same ads, the channels are monetized, and there are times when people said, okay, I know that I have millions and millions of videos in YouTube, but I'm annoyed by those ads, and I'm willing to pay to prevent from watching those ads. They pay for cable because in cable there was no advertising. I mean, there's dedicated programs where there's no ad because it's saturated with advertising. That's why people migrate into cable, because of that promise. The same goes here. I mean, with so many cookies, sometimes it's terrible to consume in social media, especially news that are invaded with ads. And I'm sure in the near future they said, okay, in this network or platform you pay an X amount in dollars, but at least you're going to have this for some time, and the way of monetizing on the other hand. So I believe all these social media, YouTube, Google, Facebook, depend on or subject to changes because there are new consumer habits, new generation people that are 20 years old. They depended on the internet. They haven't seen any other thing. They couldn't conceive in a world like by sending a fax or dialing a phone. Everything is platform, everything is on screen. And if those platforms on screen are not changed or do not improve, people are going to create their own platform. So I believe that Facebook days are counted, and if we don't do anything about this, I'm sure people are going to be bored and they will discontinue uploading content. And I'm sure if they upload content when they don't perform good analytics on the content, so basically the consumer is going to lose the control of the platform, not otherwise. Great scenario. Sometimes, as it's a day-to-day operation, we cannot conceive it otherwise, okay? But it is true, under the concept that you have proposed, from the perspective of research and activities, they use social media source of information. So imagine for us, for teachers and for professors, to check the sources of information, and they said, well, yes, I can create YouTube, I could include TikTok or YouTube videos. So it's a way of having information out of control and to analyze what is true or not, because it's an immediate access to information. Probably they haven't resorted to any libraries or any books. So basically they depend on social media or electronic media. So it's interesting having this kind of concepts. Out of this, let's see of how we conceive fake news. Fake news. We are in a Latin American event. We said fake news. You can check the translation into Spanish later. But with what you said on of libraries, I totally understand there's a limited offering. Depending on the budget of the library, I will have access to certain amount of information. Now, the freedom that I'm provided by the internet is totally different. It's unlimited. Now, the issue lies when you get to fake news, because with the pandemic, the WHO said that they were going to fight two pandemics. They had the COVID-19 pandemic, and then they said infodemics, and it was horrendous. I mean, because of those sort of videos and chats and messages that emerged. And even though we had a situation of depression and anxiety and panic because of what COVID-19 brings, there was a whole set of individuals that were lying for a new version of news or creating panic and destabilizing states, basically, where it was an attempt against the lives of many. So on top of that, if we consider that they were monetizing or they were creating millions and millions of dollars by creating this fake news that indeed creates more money or gains than drug trafficking, and the trafficking is wrong. But on the other hand, you have a universe that is having gains, creating misinformation in a society that is going to be reactive in something that is similar to justice, because it's not writing a blog, in a word processor and uploading something over the internet. No, it's an industry in this case. It's the misinformation industry that makes you believe that the president is giving a speech that is totally different from what he's used to telling us. It's an industry that allows to present actions or conspiracies that will make believe certain, or that will make people believe that this is true. So that consequence and that crime that you're committing or perpetrating, because there are many times, because by saying, and this happened years ago, for example, there was a man that was a child molester or offender outside the school. You need to pay attention because you have daughters, mothers. Please be mindful. Please share the photo of this person. And that person got killed because he was right across the school, because people thought that he was a sex offender, because we're passionate, we are reactive in a way. So I don't take the time to perform analysis, because what those that create fake news find topics that are dear to us, that do not allow us to be reasonable, but to react, because they make us react before the nature that clashes with their values. So we had a situation that was totally unforeseeable, at least by our generations, because here I can trace some differences. When we speak of social media, we speak about young generations, and the people that are in Facebook is not the same as the one in Instagram or TikTok. But no pandemic made us democratic overall. And what was the answer to that democracy? Well, it caused fear because it was uncontrollable, it was not understandable, and it was basically causing lives, killing people. So you have people being killed in the streets. So those that were locked down, we didn't want to leave. However, we questioned the state of what these people were doing, or what the state was doing in order to protect their citizens. And then on top of that, you had a group of people with X amount of actions should have been created, but our truth, basically, we made them believe, and people are not aware of being analytical, of being critical with that information. So if on top of that we add the most vulnerable sectors of society, and if I launch some piece of news that is fake, imagine that we come from Latin America. We have large groups of Aboriginal peoples. So we don't have the capability, or the state, or civil organizations, or private corporations, because for them, they are biased by society. So these group of people trying to understand something of this information, because I don't have the media or campaigns to protect them, informing that of the existence of fake news. And if on top of that we add the elderly, for example, who were we after to look after? The target? Well, the elderly, or after people over 55, because they were their most vulnerable population, or group age. So imagine the they don't manage the internet, they are illogical. And then you have social media, and then you have people that to be online, and basically they show them fake news, and they told them, well, sometimes you can even drink cow's urine and you'll be cured. So this attempted against the lives of many. So what we're doing with organizations, with civil society, what were states doing? Because we need to work to share this universe of disinformation. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have a citizen being misinformed, taking actions that could lead, based on fake news, to provoke elections, and then you may elect another candidate, regardless of that people, whether or not, took me to the condition of being alive or dead. Totally different, because what was at risk, it was not deciding the election of a republic, but being dead or alive. Now, these actions are the ones as a society or state are the ones that we should pursue or go after, because at the end of the day, we couldn't quantify. I don't know if there are statistics of how many people committed suicide as a result of fake news.
Es verdad, y todo este acecho de información trae esas repercusiones de las decisiones que nosotros
Great. Depends on the decisions that we need to make. Emotions are so much involved in social media, and that is very, very important in fake news. Emilio, what can you tell us about fake news? It's like the digital cancer to be fought, because it's not going to be easy to eradicate this disease, because we are very witnesses and participants, and we are very witnesses of the analysis process of what freedom of expression is like in this sort of platform. We're the products, as long as it is free. I mean, the product is our data, personal data. And I totally agree with what Jorge said. We're fully convinced that we know that we are at the forefront of these services, and I have to decide who I sell data to, or what tobacco company or sporting company allowed to use my personal data, or I charge a rate. And that is okay. I'm in favor of that. However, what caught my attention is, especially throughout the pandemic, with this digitized project and accelerated project that we have had, we discovered that these activities that we were not prepared for or willing to conduct, for example, e-commerce, in the grocery store, to purchase a bottle of water. If I had to do that to care for lives, I said, okay, I go on online shopping. And then the convenience of these interactions and these ways of having access to other goods and services that probably we wouldn't have discussed because it didn't make any sense. So I don't need to go on online shopping, but given this context that I see the convenience and all of that, let me see. Imagine that in the digital environment, regardless of the social media where we're at, on an ongoing basis, we're creating three actions on which the whole thing that revolves around fake news or the modified perception, because we're connectors, managers, or content references. I can go to a social media and say, okay, what are the best tacos made of beef? I mean, making sure that the answers are not going to be timely, but also they're going to be deep. And they said, okay, why don't you buy it at this time? Because, if not, you will run out of this food, or with the red peppers or the green peppers. And as you can see, probably we are referred to as, I don't know, a bicycle repair, and then you type at and then the user, and you identify that as a way of forwarding the answer. So, that could be a good business. I mean, we are connectors or managers of an idea of a project or of a solution or of a platform. When we enter social media, regardless of the understanding of these actions that we may be changing and switching constantly, sometimes we advocate the public, and probably it's not that we are public, we are the active players of the construct of the diverse environment, because everything is registered out of our reactions. And as what you said, Colombia, reacting to what I like, what I didn't like, what I didn't mind, this is being registered. I mean, and the quotes. For example, there's an unfair play. So probably social media knows us better than we do. For example, hobbies, interests, or things that make you tick or make you annoyed. Imagine, with that knowledge, we will get the perfect nirvana of getting to know somebody. But these are the challenges that fake news or disinformation has as a priority, because they trust the acceptance level of the relevance in the digital arena, and to exploit some of the emotional buttons that sometimes we don't know that they are at risk. Yes, I may think of knowing a woman or a man or knowing ourselves. And then sometimes when we start driving our cars, we become a demon and we start saying offenses and all of that. And then when we stop driving and when we park, we become more relaxed. We're not a monster any longer. So being behind the screen, just like right now, or I'm, for example, in one of the rooms, makes me feel that I'm not on stage before thousands of people. And it's what Jocelyn said. And it wouldn't seem, if I were in a stadium, on stage, I would have thought 3 times more because of the immediate certainty of what I have next to the stage right now as I'm behind the screen. It would mean that this is fake news also of the security. So, this is digital culture, digital education, the one we are using technology. The challenges that you proposed, because the effects of the elderly, where they go to the digital world, and what they found was a whole series of myths, fake news, disinformation, something that could be believable but very dangerous. And, they may have been deceived because I said, well, this is not digital at all. And you can relate this to news, because disinformation is the content that we perceive in Facebook. A woman said, can you help me because my baby has a rash? And somebody said, go to a doctor. I mean, you cannot propose or put the health of a baby at risk to expect that somebody would answer with or reply with a solution. Instead, you should go to a doctor. So, Jorge, fake news, disinformation. How do you see this?
Digamos que durante toda la historia de la humanidad eso ha existido, los rumores y los chismes
Through the history of humanity, rumors and gossip comes from prehistorical times. But, to have the impact or the rumor impacting our society was slow and did not exacerbate. But, we always depend on gossip and rumors, and this never changed. We still are like that. But we have better technology available, or more technology as any technology, or as any bow and arrow that collectors use. We have a smartphone that resemble the bow and arrow at that time, and sometimes people misuse these smartphones or equipment or whatever. So there are many profiles of programmers that are very, very good, and then you always find people that are experts on algorithms, and you never know that these people, how valuable they are. So when they become independent, they become hackers or they become involved in the dark web. They know a lot of algorithms, they're very efficient, they know how to create a news viral without being real. They know how to do it, and they are used to. For example, in Colombia, we are about to have a presidential campaign, and then we have some warehouses here. We use the term bodegas in Colombia. So it's a large warehouse, and there are people there typing in computers and creating fake accounts, streams, hashtags, and creating the sensation that this is a trending topic, but it's not. And you have people that specialize on having a trending topic or making your videos viral, and how to make that social media sometimes make a mistake of communicating fake news. This became like the rule, and it's like saying, okay, please do not make these unimportant people famous, because the media should not be posting, I don't know, that you are astonished by somebody using a bikini, and then you have the community managers analyzing traffic, that they need traffic, they need retweets and likes, and this is the secret of their success. Well, they have their own secret formulas, and if not, they cannot get the traffic. So media has been responsible for disseminating fake news, not only in Colombia but across the world, and in that regard we are right. First, through television, one can disseminate topics that are not trending, but in the reality of "you're fired," Donald Trump knew how to get that through logics and rating, and through his platform could make people discuss unimportant things. So the media are responsible for this, because there are people that are in hierarchical positions, managerial positions, that they need to know how it works, how this magic works for algorithms, because if not, it's very easy for people with just a little knowledge to induce somebody to make a mistake or an error, and to convert things that are not news into news. So basically, this is what Spain did. Spain, at one point, had a terrorist act, just like the FARC in Colombia, Peru, Sendero Luminoso, and Spain with ETA. So all the media gathered and they said, okay, we're going to stop publishing pictures and videos of terrorist attacks, because we're going to publicize news, but not raising awareness and we're not going to be the Pandora box of their terrorist attacks. So when Spain, ABC, El País, Mundo, TV Española, all the media in Spain, they said, okay, we don't want to cover, for example, a bomb in the subway or a car bomb. I mean, we're gonna do that, but basically ETA realized that this is not a resonant. I mean, they wouldn't. Those news will not resonate, and they demobilized armed groups. But still, we have here drug traffickers, groups on the left, from the right, the FARC, that they have manipulated systematically. All the journalists, some that operate in good faith, some not. And this, well, okay, it's a trending topic, you need to call somebody, but it doesn't work like that. The opposite, the media, should pursue the sources and try to find to corroborate 2 or 3 versions of the source. And if it's a trending topic in the social media, it's okay. But still, if we continue, the TikTok from Shakira dancing is going to be news as long as it has, I mean, if it has retweets and likes, it doesn't mean that it's a trending topic in terms of news. I mean, it's the same thing that a politician says something about politics, but you know, that is not a piece of news unless he's declaring something or making an official speech. Not so many people do that. So it doesn't have to be artificial intelligence. You know, sometimes people make headlines that are not. We have a leading case when Uribe Vélez, that proposes Santos, 2 days after being president, changed the whole thing. Uribe became very upset, and Uribe, from the Twitter, wrote every day to Santos. And Twitter destroyed Santos' popularity. Why? Why is that? Because the media in Colombia, they said, okay, this was reported by Twitter and by Uribe, but we're not going to be fools. We need to take control of that information. The social media are not controlling. Trending topic is another thing. Global Grammys and those transmissions sometimes are trending topic, but the one that issues the agenda is the channel, the TV channel, or the network. I mean, but journalists and news and newspapers shouldn't analyze what's trending in social media and then make news. News is different regardless of the technology, and we cannot fall on being so superficial in the likes or in the trending topic. Okay, and that depends on algorithms. I believe that we need to conclude. I'm sorry that I'm late with my comments, but that is important. It's what happened in other countries. So I think that we shouldn't depend on social media. Thank you very much, Jorge, and thank you for that information that has been great. It's been great having you here, but we have many pending panelists or more panelists that are going to come. So thank you very much for sharing the panel. It was great meeting you. Thank you. And Olga, over to you. I like the hot sauce of the tacos, you know, because it's like lunchtime here. So it reminded me of Mexico tacos. And also they promised me chiles in nogada or whatever. Okay, some questions from the students here. My acknowledgements, regards from Jocelyn, for Jocelyn. Students are asking whether there's a way if governments can whether governments can control what's the impact that create bubbles produced by algorithms and social media. What are the strategies we need to adopt to control that information? I ask you to be brief because we're exceeding the time we have.
Los usuarios tenemos la necesidad fuera del contexto. Hay manera de identificar que la noticia es falsa.
Is there a way of identifying this is fake news? Because of spelling mistakes.
Un saludo para la amiga Jocelyn, voz desde
Greetings for Jocelyn from the Dominican Republic, Lorenzo Martinez.
¿Cómo podemos hacer posible armonizar nuestro
How can we harmonize the regulatory agency to identify this fake news? And how can we use AI engines and raise awareness to have a better management of fake news, making use of official sources and prevent the dissemination of fake news? But we need to be brief because we have a panel coming up. I believe that yes, we may take policies and development from civil society, state, and citizenry. As citizens, we need to check fake news. There are websites where we can check this news. And the media have the professional practice and ethics not to disseminate fake news, but influencers are different. They don't have that practice and they have many followers, and our young people consider that as news. So we need to train influencers, because if not, as they don't have this training, they disseminate fake news. So it's a joint work with social media and to fight fake news from many perspectives. But it has to be a multitask work between state, companies, and civil society, and citizenry as well. Or citizens need to understand through awareness campaigns that the information that I get in my cell phone, it not necessarily will mean that is the correct information. And it made me think that this is probably not legitimate, and I will need to find which one is true. As academicians, we are close to young adults, children, or whatever. We need to motivate. What examples could be related to formal sources, like the Supreme Court of Justice, not to buy or to bind with the laws because they may be discontinued, but we need to explain to them where and how. Okay, because they may not know where to find.
Gracias, perdón. Muy rápidamente yo les comparé qué hacer para mejorar esta parte del entorno y el consumo de noticias de este
How can we improve and validate this news? It's an exercise that requires a lot of effort and validating something that I'm reading, whether it is true, legitimate, if it's being dealt with by other media, and filters are what is too good to be true, to gossip like, to be true. Well, that needs or requires some checking. And then on a daily basis, you know what the reason why in Latin America, the way we share fake news without having too much discipline. And that is just in case it's legitimate, it's relevant. So we shouldn't venture to say that it's true. No, we basically convert information into something that shouldn't be information, okay? Thanks. We should be aware. Jorge? Thanks a lot. I still receive emails from the Prince of Niger that wants to offer millions of dollars. somebody that wants my bank account. Those are fake news, but with a level of exaggeration, still people fall victim of that because of the mission, and sometimes they wire $200 or $300 and they fall prey of that. The same goes with fake news. In France, they say Facebook is not interested in fake news to be out of the system. Why? The platform with fake news has an average that is higher in frequency compared to the real one, and that implied less interactions and low profitability. So, it was more convenient for Facebook to have fake news because it makes people to stay longer online. So we need to strike a balance between the media and regular people, because they need to be aware that this is happening, and that there's algorithms that amplify or exacerbate this fake news, and probably the platforms are not interested in deleting that because it takes too much time and money, and if they are under attack in terms of profitability, they're not interested in deleting that. I would like to reinforce the issue that there's not so much darkness at the end of the tunnel. In Texas, they convicted a criminal for 15 months of prison because that person made a person that had COVID-19 to lick cans in a supermarket, and he was subject to a fine and this sort of behavior. So if you thought that it was good business, well, there are some courts that are taking remedial actions in connection with this. Thank you very much. We could have organized a 5-day conference on the possible regulations and examples, as Jocelyn mentioned. It gives us a snapshot of what to reflect upon, because at the very beginning of SSIG, you have questions, but at the end you have many more questions. The idea is to reflect on this, to think who are involved, where to find information, share information. I believe that the panel exceeded our expectations of all of us. I would like to acknowledge every one of you, Emilio, Jorge, Yolanda, and Jocelyn. I have a coffee and tacos pending from Mexico. Greetings from Lab and from Abogada and Adriana, and everybody's working here. And hugs from Buenos Aires. Stay safe and healthy, and get to know you personally, just like I know Jocelyn, to know you personally, or to meet you personally in the future. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. We will resume at 4 o'clock Argentine time and 12 o'clock Colombia for the last two panels of today, one on cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence and ethics. We're worldwide experts on these subjects, so we'll resume we have more time for lunchtime. So we will resume the session in 45 minutes. Thank you.